Welcome to episode number 313 of Destination Linux. Destination Linux is a video podcast from the Text Digital Network. If you're new to the show, Destination Linux is perfect for all experience levels. Whether you're brand new to open source or a guru of sudo, this is the podcast for you. My name is Jill.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Ryan.
And on this week's awesome episode of Destination Linux, we take the new KDE Plasma 5.27 for a spin. Then we talk about GNOME, kind of, sort of, almost bringing back app indicators, or something close to it. Plus, we have our tips, tricks, and software picks. All this and more coming up right now on Destination Linux to keep those penguins marching.
So this week in our community feedback, we're not going to have community feedback because I wanted to bring back a blast from the past. See, this is kind of going to be a Michael episode in a way. There's a lot of things here that revolve around Michael. So if you're one of the three people who are a fan of Michael, this is the show for you, to listen to because, you know, it's KDE in there. And what we want to do is kind of bring back a blast from the past. What we used to do a long time ago, for those of you who are OG, have been listening to Destination Linux for a really long time, is we'd start with how's everyone been up to this week? How's everyone been? That type of stuff. We're not going to do the whole roundtable here. We're just going to focus on Michael this week, at least, and find out if there's anything cool, Linuxy, software-wise, something that the audience would find interesting that you've been up to that you want to share with our audience today, Michael.
Yes. In fact, we've talked about Markdown on this show multiple times about how we're big fans of it. And in fact, that it's our favorite language to write documentation and notes in. And we've discussed it on many different ways and different applications. And, but it really only is good as the program you're using it in, though. So what if I were to tell you that I found maybe the perfect solution? I'm a big fan of it. I've been using it for a very long time. But it isn't exactly entirely open source.
No,
Oh
Michael. My gosh.
No.
Okay.
You are kicked off the show.
Oh, no. but hear me out. Okay, so the tool is called Obsidian, and this is what makes it great. It has open source plugins, so it does have open source pieces, mapping the notes and linking of different notes to each other, and you can have a very customized organizational aspect to how you have your folders and files lay out, and you could change them anytime you want because of the mapping system can auto update when you make changes to the links. It also works across many different types of platforms. I couldn't find one it didn't really, and it works on mobile applications and also desktop and whatever OS you want typically. But Obsidian is also mainly a powerful and extensible knowledge base application. So it's not just a note-taking app. It's note-taking, but also very flexible customization. And the way it works is my favorite part, because it uses local files and folders on your own devices. It's not only just Markdown files. There are other applications that use Markdown, but the way that they do it, where when you save a file in your Obsidian, you're actually saving it directly to your computer as a Markdown file that you could go and browse through it on your regular file manager if you wanted to. And this also means that when you connect other devices to your Obsidian Sync Vault, it will allow you to create a backup essentially on every device that you connect to the sync. So effectively, you have backups no matter, depending on how many devices you use, every single one of them has a copy of every file locally on the device. And also, Obsidian supports revision history. So even if there's an issue that, where the sync creates some kind of mismatching, it's still possible to go back and get whatever version from whichever device you want. And it has the revision history synced right in there too. So even if there is like an overwrite, you can still go back and get whatever it was. And I recently did that on my own systems just like 2 days ago when I was looking for something and all of a sudden it was gone. And then I'm like, oh, right, there's a revision history. And I just went back and got it all, no problem.
Okay, wait, right there. I've got to ask you a question because I'm a standard notes junkie. I love standard notes. Yes. Nothing you're going to say is going to change the fact that I love standard notes. But that doesn't mean I'm not willing to cheat. And so I want to know, like, one of the biggest issues I'm having right now is really the management of the sheer amount of notes I have. So I have hundreds, probably thousands of notes at this point for show notes, for Hardware Addicts, Destination Linux, DOS Geek Channel, random ideas I have, just all kind. I keep everything in standard notes. That's my brain right now. Mm-hmm. Does this have anything that would make that easier? In standard notes, you've got kind of a tagging system. It's okay. It works some of the time, but I've also got tons of duplicates now from when I imported originally that I've got to deal with. And so some pieces have a certain amount of information, and another note that's named the same thing has an different revision, and there's nothing to merge them all. And so it's a lot of manual work. Is there anything in Obsidian that would help me with those tasks?
In certain cases, you would have to do, based on like what you have now, there might be a little bit of a mess that you have to clean up at least a little bit. But Obsidian going forward would be able to handle some of this stuff for you, because my favorite thing about the Obsidian project is the local files. But my second favorite thing is the organizational value, because you can do like an excessive amount of organization. And you can change your organizational structure at any time and nothing will break. The tagging system will not break. The linking of the different notes inside of other notes will all be updated no matter what you move, however you move around. Let's say you have a particular project that you want to work on and you reference that in other notes 100 times. And you decide, I want to rename that project. And that means all those links are going to be broken at that point because you're renaming it. But when you change the name, Obsidian will say, "Hey, you just changed this file name. Do you want to update all the links that are associated to this file name?" And then it will just do it.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And then once it does that, it automatically syncs it to all the other devices, and everything gets updated all at once. Like, it is so like convenient and easy to use in terms of however way you want to organize, you can make it happen. And if you decide you don't want to do it that way and you want to change it, you can also customize it extensively to as much as you want, and it will just kind of flow with whatever you want it to be. And I recently switched to using Obsidian for my to-do list and task system. And I've been using Obsidian for years as notes, but now I'm using it for almost everything related to notes, even tasks and task management and to-do list. And there's also plugins that enhance various different things. So you can install a plugin that will make your to-dos a more reliable way. Or if you have like to-dos that you're doing in like a daily note and you don't finish it, you can automatically roll those over with a plugin and keep consistent to-dos available at any given day, no matter how you want to do it. And the flexibility of all the plugins is so extensive, because there's even like plugins that modify Obsidian to a point where it feels like a whole other functionality that they just built on top of it. It's so valuable to me that I think people should check it out.
I mean, one of the key things with standard notes is the plugin system. And you have to, of course, have a pay-for model, I believe, to use a lot of the plugins in standard notes. But this is 100% free for personal use. No account or sign-up required. Access to plugins and APIs included in the free piece, where a lot of the open source plugins you mentioned are at.
Most of the plugins are just community made and they're free to use. I will say that if you want to have the sync, there are two options. There's ability to use the sync service that they provide, which is, I think, $8 a month, something like that. And then there's the self-hosted version of syncing, where you could use SyncThing or Nextcloud or whatever. Because your files are stored locally on your device, you could manage the syncing yourself if you wanted to go to the free way. But if you want to use their built-in one, I use their built-in service, and it's been so convenient, and I haven't had any issues with the syncing problems or anything. So I'm a big fan of that, and I would recommend that. If you think that the price is reasonable to you, I would recommend definitely doing it. And also, one more thing I wanted to mention is that at sometimes you might want to have a different, more powerful editor. Like in my case, Sublime Text, because there's certain things in Obsidian you can't do that you can do in other editors. And this is another reason why I like Obsidian, because you could just use a simple shortcut and then it will launch whatever note you're currently in your preferred editor, and you can use that editor right then, do whatever you want to do, save it, and it will automatically refresh inside of Obsidian.
Okay. That might get me to move away from standard notes or box.com. I've been using the box.com note system as well.
Mm-hmm.
But
the $8 a month is the only thing that kind of is a little steep. And I know you can do it all yourself, which we're Linux people, so we probably will anyways. But standard notes is like $7.50. You know, this is
that 50 cents more.
Listen,
cents more.
Wow.
We are in a time of mass inflation.
Horrible.
Every 50 cent matters at this point. You know? It's crazy what things are costing these days. Have you checked the price of eggs, Michael?
No.
It's ludicrous. Ludicrous.
Well, I
50
think
cent.
price.
Do you see what I did? 50 cent, ludicrous. I was able to. Come on, man. I need you to put. If you were using Obsidian right now, it would have linked those thoughts together.
It would have linked it for me.
Yes,
I appreciate
it. You're welcome.
That was a very good exhibit you just displayed.
Nice. Well played.
That's so ridiculous. Oh my goodness, I love it. All right, so another thing that I love is this episode is being brought to you by Linode. Linode is a fantastic service, and there's so many great things, but right now, just visit linode.com/tux to get started. That's linode.com/TUX, and you can see why over 1 million developers trust Linode for their infrastructure. Linode provides services and solutions to accelerate innovation, which means you can build everything yourself or use one-click apps from their plethora of options on the Linode's app marketplace to deploy everything from Plesk and WordPress to Valheim and Minecraft servers.
Obsidian. You could create your Obsidian server, your Nextcloud server to sync your Obsidian nodes right here in Linode.
You could sync it with Linode. Yeah. Linode even has VPN-friendly virtual servers so you can create and secure connections over the internet, protecting you on like public Wi-Fi and that sort of stuff to keep your data private. If that wasn't enough, I mean, there's so many things. Obviously, I'm already sold on Linode, but every plan, not just every plan comes with human-powered customer support. That's right. So if you need help, someone will pick up the phone, respond to your email, or reply to you on social media 24/7, 365. So visit linode.com/tux to create a free account. Plus, when you use that URL, you'll let them know that we sent you, which is, of course, good for us and good for you because you'll get a 60-day, $100 free credit when you sign up on that URL. So again, go get started on Linode's awesome cloud platform and go to linode.com/tux. And also, or just a reminder, for those who aren't listening to Studio Show, you should definitely check that out. There's a monthly challenge for Linode that you can help build your skills and confidence. And this month, there's deploying a N8N, which is a powerful workflow automation tool challenge. So if you want to prove your skills with some free credit, you can do that right now on linode.com/tux. This week's main topic we're going to talk about is something that people might be aware that I'm a little bit of a fan of. Just a little. And that's KDE Plasma. Okay, fanboy, whatever. KDE Plasma 5.27 has dropped with some, in their own words, massive improvements. And after testing it out, I can definitely agree they are massive improvements. And I'm so excited to be using the next version of this version. I mean, because it's not available on a lot of distros yet. We'll tell you how to do it later in the show. But there's so much cool stuff. And it feels like every single new version of KDE Plasma, there's always something to be excited about. But this one, I am super excited about many of these things. So,
shut up, Michael. This is my turn to shine. You know what? The tiling system in KDE.
Okay, sure.
That's what we have to talk about.
For those who are wondering why it's his turn, he's a big fan of tiling window managers.
I'm a huge
for reference.
fan of tiling managers, and there are a few distros that do it right. A few desktop environments that do it right. Like i3, Budgie has an amazing innovative approach to it. But this new KDE implementation is dope. Like it's really, really well done how they implemented this. And once you learn the key combinations to kind of execute these commands, you could basically set up on your screen with this key combination. It'll pop up a grid and allow you to choose where you want your windows to be organized. And then every time you open a new window, it's going to move it into that pattern for you that you've set up automatically. So if you want 2 verticals and 2 horizontals, 1 horizontal at the top, 4 verticals on the bottom, however you want, you set that up initially. And then as you open your windows, it's all there. And then, of course, you just got the meta key and your arrow keys to move windows around to the various spots, to the point where I was like, this is going to be really hard for me to come up with a reason of why i3 is better. And that hurts my soul.
And that hurts.
Because i3, some of the other implementations of tiling, like I said, are amazing. But i3 with its shortcut system, if you learn it, is just, it's
powerful.
Next level. But one of the things one of the few things Michael's been correct about is that pretty much in Plasma, you can do anything eventually if you try to figure it out and spend enough time in the settings for 8 years to do it. This is when they talk about massive improvements here. A lot of these improvements are about discoverability and making things easy to access. And this is a perfect example. It's a simple key combination. Yeah. It puts on a grid. You click a little GUI button to tell it, I want this horizontal, I want this vertical. And then boom, you've got your tiling system in place. It's next level good, man. Like this made me switch to KDE on my main machine this week. It was that.
Oh, nice.
It was there that. I couldn't get enough. I started this mission of testing this out in a VM, and I was like, I can't go back to GNOME or XFCE. I have to spend more time with KDE. I'm not saying I'm going to stay here. I'm just saying
welcome to the KDE team.
It made me want to spend a lot more time there. So sorry, I had to interrupt. You had a really good intro, Michael. Great job.
Sure.
But tiling is my jam. I am the i3 prodigy after all. So now you can go through the rest.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I'll let you do that. But also I wanted to just kind of comment on the tiling system. I am a big fan of tiling too. But there's also like certain levels of tiling that I think is like, too much. This is a great combination of you have tiling, but you don't have to use it unless you like choose to do so. And I think that's the best way of, because it's more like tiling zones. So you create whatever zone you want to be the tiling setup, and then you can just move things in and out. And you could do the keyboard option. And also if you hold the super key and then use the left mouse button to drag it, you can then hit shift, and that will let you just put it wherever you want through the mouse. So if you want to use it in the keyboard style or the mouse style, both options are available, which is fantastic. Plus, they can have the layout system, which they're building into this as well, and that's going to be just amazing when they get that done too, because it will allow you to be able to save different layouts and then load them up when you want to switch how you want to do the tiling, which is just very cool.
Here's Ryan's tip of the week. If you're not using tiling yet, you've got to try it out and really spend some time with it, because it's a next level game changer for productivity. It truly is. So cool. You don't realize until you start using a tiling manager how much time you spend wrangling windows. If you're doing programming, browsers, you've got chat up, you've got all these things, you're wrangling windows all of the time. And when you have a tiling manager set up that's intuitive and innovative, then you can easily be able to manage all those windows without them getting in your way. You're no longer wrangling windows. You're just getting where you need to get the work done. And I think a great intro to tiling is what Budgie's system of tiling is, because it's more of a GUI based. And so that will kind of get you the concept of why tiling is so powerful. And then you can move into, of course, setting up your own shortcuts and that type of stuff. But tiling is amazing. It's just a really productive thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And also some other things that are happening in Plasma 5.27 is they've made some changes to the system settings. Actually, it is a program called System Settings, and it allows you to customize pretty much everything inside your KDE Plasma setup. But they're also consolidating things and adding more features for like touch-enabled devices, like touchscreens and drawing tablets, and much more. And I'm a huge fan of the system settings. I've been a huge fan of it because of the way that it's done, having everything all in one for years, and the effort you see with every few releases where they enhance it even more and more. It's always great to see that sort of stuff.
I take a little bit of issue with that. I know you like system settings because you've been using KDE forever and you're a fanboy.
Are you saying I'm jaded to it or something?
You're jaded. You're a little bit jaded here, because like the system settings is a great concept, but KDE is there's so many options, and there's so many ways to get lost
that is
in the
something
settings
that they're working on.
But that's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
is
they're
that
cleaning it up.
This is one of the best implementations of their system settings ever.
Absolutely.
And that's the one thing I want to mention is like system settings is a great concept. I don't feel like KDE really ever pulled it off entirely where I think it should be. But this is the closest I've seen it get to where things are starting to make a lot more sense where they're put. And there's a lot less of the scrolling through 800 million different varieties of potential settings.
I mean, they've lowered the amount of pages that you have to go through to do certain things, which is great. And I do agree that like I've gotten used to the point. So saying jaded is a little bit true, where I know where everything is and it's easy to use it and that sort of stuff. But there is, in certain cases, there are multiple tiers that you got to go through to find the configuration you want to change. and then putting effort into fixing that is fantastic. But another thing that I want to talk about that is one of my favorite things about KDE Plasma, I even included it in one of my videos about 17 things you didn't know about Plasma, is KRunner. KRunner is such a fantastic function. Basically, for those who don't know, it's a launch application launcher that is available at any time. You just hit a shortcut and it gives you access. By default, it's Alt space. I personally change it, but that's what the default is Alt space. And it allows you to launch applications, search for files from there, and this latest version of Plasma 5.27 has even more functionality, such as full desktop search, unit and currency conversion rate conversions. They already had some of the currency exchange rate conversions, but this is more of like, it has support for more accurate stuff, and also dictionary definitions. It has calculator features. Like, it's basically improving many, many more values that you have. And you could just go into the system settings for KRunner and you'll see a huge list of all the things that it can do. And it is a lot of stuff. So if you have never used KRunner, I highly recommend trying it out.
I had no idea that it had calculator features. I don't know if it had those before. That's new, but I was just playing with it.
It does. It's had it for a long time.
And it's kind of real. That's really convenient and cool. Yeah. And one of the things I like about KRunner is you can just start typing on your desktop. You don't even have to hit the Alt space.
Yeah.
You're on a blank desktop, part of your desktop, and you just start typing. KRunner comes up and starts searching, which is very, very convenient. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I think KRunner is one of the best search utilities on Linux. And I was just so happy to see that it now has full desktop search now. And the new dictionary feature is awesome and it works great. Just all you have to do is just type define and then the search term in the search box, and it will come up with results in the menu underneath. And I did define extreme.
Of course you did, too.
And not only did several definitions come up in the menu to the word extreme, but a notification came up saying that the definition for extreme has been copied to the clipboard. And I thought that was a really nice feature. I'm impressed, KDE.
Wow. Yeah. And also for those who are wondering, like, what if I had other stuff in my clipboard already that I wanted? Well, don't worry, because KDE has a built-in feature of clipboard management. So you can have multiple clipboard entries all at the same time, and you can cycle through it.
Whatever, Michael.
Yeah, that's always been one of my favorite features.
I can install a third-party plugin to do that.
Yeah, you could install something if you wanted to, but KDE has it by default because
KDE's had it by default for a long time.
Darn it.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you more reasons.
It's getting hard to battle KDE, let me tell you. I don't want to battle it anymore because it's just, they're getting so darn good. Like,
one thing I did recently is I actually installed, I was so impressed by it. I installed Plasma 5.27 by installing KDE Neon Testing Edition on one of my 3 iMacs I have for testing distros. And it ran beautifully. I'm just going to keep it on there. It ran beautifully.
Yep. Well, that's an interesting kind of segue. We'll get into some more things that are coming because there's a lot. And Michael will go on forever. So we kind of have to put a little bit of a dent in there with it. But if you want to check out the latest version, KDE Neon is the logical place. But KDE Neon is not really. It's not a distro. So people shouldn't be really utilizing it, even though they have a user edition that makes it look like it could be used. And some people do use it as a regular desktop environment. It's really, if you look in the frequently asked questions, it kind of contradicts that by saying, hey, that's not really what this is for. Because KDE Neon is really to say, this is our developers' ability to look at the latest and greatest things running on top of Ubuntu, going on in KDE only. So it's like Arch, but only for KDE. It's always on the edge, but only the KDE portion's on the edge. And so that's the advantage of using it and trying it. But Michael,
if I want to get
testing
and stuff like that,
if I want to get the new KDE Plasma version on my Ubuntu install here, can I do it? The answer is no. Why not? Why is it not there?
Wow. Because it was released like a few days ago.
Yeah.
So if I was on Arch, I'd have it. Boom. It would be done right now. Like, what is the problem? I even added backports in, and it's still not there. Like, what's the problem?
Backports takes a certain amount of time for testing to make sure it's good to go with the current setup.
It's so freaking lame. It's so lame.
No, it's not. That's ridiculous. Ryan, it's okay for more testing to be done to make sure everything's good to go in a particular distro.
I tested it in a VM. It was perfect. What other testing do you need? Come on, Ubuntu.
Okay, so the difference is that the one you tested in is a different distro than the one that you're using. And the reason why it's important is because, as you said, Neon is a testing / development platform where they specifically state in their frequently asked questions, we only care about the KDE stack. That's a very important piece. So if everything else breaks, that doesn't matter because you're only jumping in there to play with the KDE stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why it's okay for them to be so quick and other ones to take longer, because the other ones, they care about those other things and they want to make sure it all works before they release it to people.
It just shows you, you may have been right about KDE being a superior desktop environment, but where you're wrong is Arch, baby. Because I would be in 5.27 right now if I wasn't sitting on stale old Ubuntu. I would already be there. Just saying.
Okay. I mean, you're not wrong, but you also have other issues.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Shut up.
You have to run it in a VM, Ryan. Use boxes.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing, is playing with it in a VM, and I have enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much I got KDE on my machine, even though it's not the 5.27 because Ubuntu doesn't have it in the back ports yet. But maybe they'll hear this and fix that. There's also panel trays and widgets in there that you can play with, which are kind of cool. New color picker options, more Wayland support than ever before, and lots of power user options, which one of the reasons that I actually was like, I got to switch to KDE on my desktop is the multi-monitor support, and specifically the scaling support. Like this,
it does 4K so well.
There is no negotiation. If a desktop environment cannot scale correctly, if I only have a choice of 100, 200, and 400 or whatever stupid thing, and I have no in-between unless I have to do some special magical incantation to get 125 or 150, I'm done with you. You're dead to me. But KDE right out of the box, I've got my scaling perfect on my 4K monitors. Both my monitors worked immediately at the right resolution that I needed them to be at the right hertz that I needed them to be at. It detected them both. It's first class. And now the fact that they're doing more overhaul in there to make the arrangements even more robust and make sure your desktops don't get lost. If you have multi-monitors, that kind of happens sometimes, or it'll sometimes activate your desktop on this screen to log in or this screen to log in, that type of stuff. Are the things that they're working on kind of fixing and making it
sure
more
the
reliable.
primary is detected sooner, like that sort of stuff. They're doing a lot of great stuff on the multi-monitor support. And like you mentioned, it has been one of the best for years.
For years, yeah.
And for those who are curious why scaling is important here, is because if you have a 4K monitor and you don't have proper scaling, like for example, going from 100% to 200% is technically scaling, but no monitor does that. Like there's no direct 200% and be actually valuable. So what typically you'd want is somewhere in between there. And some DEs offer 125, 150, and 175 as options, but that's also typically not the best option either. You want somewhere in between these different things. So you want fractional scaling, and true fractional scaling allows you to do super specific things. For example, in Plasma, my setup for my 4K monitors is 165.8%. And it works great.
Wow.
So
that's interesting. That is oddly specific. I just want 125 or 150. I don't need the 168.7.32 captain's log type thing that you're doing.
Captain's log.
Yeah. But you know what? One of our patrons mentioned that Fedora has 5.27 available right now. You could just install a package in their back port and get that put right into your system. So
there you go.
That's an option. Fedora, Arch, that's...
Sorry, I changed it recently. It's 168.75 is my current.
Oh, okay.
Is that Stardate?
Yeah, Stardate. Yeah, exactly.
But
Fedora having it is fantastic because as a person who's a big fan of Fedora, I will be able to use it faster than Ryan.
Looks like I'll be doing an Arch install this week. No one will beat me.
I refuse to be last.
Yes. So if you want to check this out, really, when I say that this blew me away, when they talked about massive improvements, number one, when KDE says massive improvements, they are
making a strong statement.
Because it's already a massively complicated and complex desktop. So if you want to be on the cutting edge and join me in installing Arch this week, one of the first programs after you get Arch installed and all the other programs that you're going to have to install to have a working desktop, after you do all that with Arch, you're going to want to install Bitwarden. Bitwarden. This episode of Destination Linux is brought to you by Bitwarden. Get started right now with your free account at bitwarden.com/tux. That's /TUX. Memorize that. Make sure you go to your computer, type bitwarden.com/TUX, because that's how they know we sent you. And plus, you're going to get some amazing options there to sign up for a premium account, which give you things like a gigabyte of encrypted file storage, 2-step login with YubiKey, U2F Duo, Vault Health Reports, Bitwarden Authenticator, priority customer support for just $10 per year. However, we know the economy is kind of a mess right now, and if you need to, they also have a completely free option to protect all of your passwords there at Bitwarden. That's how awesome they are. They provide you the tools to store all your passwords in a secure vault, auto-generate those passwords and usernames for you, even automatically if you want to, so that you don't have to fill in all those annoying forms, and you can access your data across all the different devices, whether it's web browser, mobile apps, desktop applications, Android, iOS, even the command line you can use Bitwarden on. So join me right now by going to bitwarden.com/tux to get started with the most amazing password manager. I want to thank Bitwarden for sponsoring this episode of Destination Linux. So the news this week, we also have a desktop environment. Michael has kind of this love triangle. He loves KDE, he's a huge fanboy, and he's also in love with GNOME at the same time. So we're going to talk about GNOME. Well, you might be now, Michael, because one of the big things that we've talked about on this show that we're wanting GNOME team to kind of not die on this hill. And they seem to have taken the advice, not saying they took it from this show, but from everyone else who also
obviously
wants this fixed. They are going to bring back app indicators. Well, not really, kind of, sort of, in a way, and it's just a mock-up, and it's probably not going to happen, but it's not fully app indicator kind of thing, but it's better than what we had before, which was nothing. And
you seem so hopeful of this news.
Yes, this is about hope.
It's my happen, maybe, possibly, perhaps. Who knows?
Yeah.
Plus, it's a mock-up. Who knows?
Jill, don't laugh with him. This is not a time to be laughing.
That's just funny.
I've been trying to support GNOME on this show for a long time, and this is the one thing that you all can fire back at me and be 100% correct. It's stupid.
Basically, anytime you would say something about GNOME, I'll be like, app indicators. And then just like, end of conversation.
Shut it down. Well, it's all about the change, Michael. Because Alan Day has released a mock-up on GitLab for an app indicator-like feature, air quoting, where users would be able to see apps running in the background from a menu in the top panel. And the idea seems to be picking up some steam as developer George Nito has exposed Flatpak's XDG desktop portal component, which will allow for detection of running Flatpak apps and those things. So while this still requires some clicks, because you have to go, it's not like it's in the menu bar. You have to like open up the panel on the right side, and then you'd look for the running apps in the background. At least would tell you, hey, you have apps running in the background like Discord or others that are running. You would know this. And so it's kind of like app indicators, and it basically fixes all the problems. This is why GNOME's the greatest desktop environment in the world.
That you've recently switched away from. So the app indicators system, for those who are not aware, is more easily explained as the system tray. So if you are familiar with Windows, or if you're new to Linux, there's the system tray that's in the bottom right corner, or depending on whatever configuration you want, you can move it in some operating systems, where you have all of your applications that are currently running sitting there in that tray, and then you can interact with them, having menus options and being able to quickly close them and that sort of stuff. And that's effectively what we're talking about when we say app indicators. And for some reason, many years ago, GNOME decided that app indicators or system trays were not good. Yeah. No real reason was given except for some hilariously mockable reasons. Like one time, one of them said that you're giving advertisement space to applications for free. And I'm like, what? I installed it. Who is it advertised? Anyway, there's some interesting responses that have been given for why they got rid of it. But many people in the community have requested that they bring them back for years now. And this is good to see that they're putting in some effort to bring back something like it, because the biggest problem with not having these this system tray / app indicators inside of GNOME is that some applications require you to use those to close it. Like Steam, for example, when you close the window, it's still running.
Mega
and Discord.
NZ.
Yeah, there's so many applications that are still running until you close them through the system tray.
So true.
Now, some applications give you the option to choose to go to the system tray or not. But with GNOME, when you don't have a system tray, it can be a little bit problematic. So it is cool that they're putting in some effort, even if this is just a mock-up of an idea and that sort of stuff. It's great to see that they're putting in some effort to potentially fix this problem. However, after some research, I found out that
I told you to not research this. Just let me have this. Let me and the GNOME team have this, Michael.
Okay, sorry. I apologize up front. But so basically what I found out is that it's using a specific API for this functionality. So if an application like Steam or Discord or whatever doesn't implement this API, then this function won't work. So the biggest reason why this is important is because the reason why these app indicator missing things is a problem is because the developers aren't going to change the way they do their software because one DE decided they wanted to. And it's been 10 years and GNOME still has not realized that no matter what amount of usage of install that GNOME has in the Linux market, which is pretty big, it's still not enough for them to care about removing an entire fundamental piece of functionality that people expect to be there. So they're going to keep it. So
which is why SteamOS
just accept it.
chose KDE, which is why SteamOS properly chose Arch, because those combination is the most superior combination of Linux that exists.
I'll give it to you for this one because you mentioned Plasma.
Thank you. Give me something this episode, please. Come on, GNOME. Steam's going to sit there and rewrite their code to put your specific thing in there to show an app indicator. This is just dumb. I love the idea. Yeah. Thank you for not dying on this hill still, but please, just stop.
It's hard for us to say because we're not developers and we're not be able to say we're not great developers. Michael AI is well done,
I did
but
develop that.
there's that. So, but we're not going to say we know better than you in that sense. But in terms of user experience, we are users who have lots of experience, and this is something that no one agrees with. Users who you see most distributions that run GNOME by default have this plugin set up where they have app indicators or a system tray. They ignore your decision.
Stupid.
Yeah. So at this point, just I don't know why it's so hard for GNOME to be like, hey, we understand that the users want this, we'll provide it. I get
it's they want to be Apple so bad and remove features that people clearly want, but they have none of the pull of Apple. None of it. And so you can't do that if you're not the size of Apple. You can't go removing ports. You can't just remove the desktop from us, GNOME, because it's cleaner. Because you ain't Apple, sorry.
I mean, even though I'm not a big fan of Apple, they do some cool stuff, and because of this, they've got to the point where they're a big powerhouse, and they have the pull to do whatever they want, and people just have to accept it.
But what Mac OS does have?
A system tray app.
A system trayer, yes. Yeah, in fact, there's some really good GNOME extensions for a system tray out there, and those would be easy for the team to integrate.
Yeah. I mean, there is plugins that the community created.
Yeah.
It's just, it's something that they have to go out. They don't officially support. So if it breaks or anything happens, we're reliant on the person who develops that. And we know plugins break quite often in GNOME. It's not like that doesn't happen.
It's also important to point out that the GNOME extension system, by default, is not easily accessible. So even though people say you could just add an extension for the system tray, sure, but you have to figure out how to use the extension system before you can even add an extension. That is a problem. The fact that there is special applications made, like Extension Manager, where you can install this to be able to install other extensions, you should at least, if you're going to be promoting extensions to people, at least make it possible to install them.
Well, we are happy to see there's a little bit of progress.
Yeah.
Even if it's minute.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let
you
be clear. Shut up, Michael.
No, just to be clear, we're not haters on GNOME. GNOME does some cool stuff.
I love GNOME. You guys know I talk about GNOME, how great it is all the time. Like it's very clean desktop experience. This is a really stupid thing they've done, and they need to be called out on it. It's really dumb. They got to fix it. Stop dying on this dumb hill, please. All right, Jill, take us into gaming, something positive.
Yes. So our game this week is Helvetti. Helvetti is actually a character action game set in Gaelic Celtic mythology. And you have a choice of 3 characters, and you use their gifts and powers bestowed by primal deities and show your mastery of combat by pummeling, juggling, and slamming your enemies in a very gorgeous 2D presentation. And it is absolutely beautiful. I love the look and feel of this game. This game describes itself as easy to learn, but hard to master the stylish action. Yeah. It is. It does take some time. I spent about an hour with it, but I started getting the moves down.
Well, this reminds me of like Devil May Cry. If anybody has played Devil May Cry, which is an amazing series, like you not only want to take out your enemies, but you try to do it as stylishly and cool as possible. And like in Devil May Cry, you may have a sword and a gun. If you just sit there and shoot the boss with your gun, at the end of it, it gives you like a report card, and it's like, hey, your style was an F, and you feel really bad and sad, and you need to rethink your life. But if you do a combo where you're shooting and doing the sword and jumping around and bouncing, and you get so it's all about style. And this game has that kind of combo style system built in, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and I love the sound design. It's freaking beautiful, and the graphics and even the transitions from scene to scene in the game is really nicely done. It's kind of a nice tear across the screen, but it's one you don't see often in games, so that definitely stood out. And the movement and fighting mechanics to me were actually easy to master again after playing it a while.
Jill, master martial artist.
Yay! And it also plays actually really well with the keyboard and with the controller on the Steam Deck. Yes, it runs beautifully on the Steam Deck. I've got a couple hours in the game on Steam Deck.
And Jill, the Steam Deck, it runs what behind the scenes? Just curious, is that Arch?
Arch?
And Plasma.
And Plasma.
Yes.
And in fact, with 5.27 on the Steam Deck, you're going to be able to update your software within the Software Center and Discover.
Nice.
Yeah.
This game looks fantastic. I knew this one was going to catch your attention, Jill, because obviously this is up your alley. The artistic style specifically, I thought was beautiful. Just beautiful in the shots here. So it's got 19 positive reviews. It was just released on February 3rd. So if you're looking for something different to check out, this Team Kawakawa, I think is how you pronounce it, is the one who created this. It's just really cool looking.
And it's only $14.99 on Steam, and it's worth every penny, and it supports our penguins out of the box.
I love it.
Nice.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, our software spotlight is, I think it's Monophony. Could be Monophony.
Monophony.
Probably.
Oni.
I think it's Monophony. I want it to be Monophony.
Monophony's cute, yeah.
You learn the term monophony in music classes.
Okay, fine, it's that.
Yeah.
Monophony.
Jill brings education to this podcast. So last week we talked about internet radio apps. Today we're going to give you another option for music, because music's really important. Music can calm the savage beast. Before we start the show, we make Michael listen to some music to calm him down, because otherwise he's a rabid dog. He's so mean and vicious.
The funny part is that we do actually listen to music for a little bit before we start the show every time. That's true.
Yes.
And we introduce Ryan with awesome music.
That's right. The music's for me. My bad. So this allows you to stream music from YouTube for your musical needs. If you're like me and you're on your desktop and you want to hear some music, I'll generally shoot up YouTube, just open it up and put in one of those like programming listening sessions or some other music in there. Or if there's a specific song I want to listen to, it's very easy. Plus, it's like our MTV now. Like
Yeah.
You kids don't understand. Back in our day, when we'd get home from school, we'd turn on the TV and have MTV because there was no YouTube. There was no place to watch the videos you want instantaneously. We had to wait for MTV to cycle through all the music videos to get to the cool one we want. And that was your way to experience it. Now, you spoiled little brats out there got YouTube, and you can just watch your little videos whenever you want.
Back in my day. I can't believe you did that.
So sometimes you just want to hear the music, though. You don't want to play music. You don't want to use the bandwidth for a video. It's too distracting, whatever. And that's where Monophony comes in, because you can just simply type a song, artist, or album and start listening to it. It's just going to play the music portion of that. And you can also save items to your library. You can create your own playlist, whether you're working out or doing coding, whatever you want right there. And it's free because it's just using the availability of the music that's out there already on YouTube, which is quite extensive.
Yeah, it's just it's an awesome program, Ryan. I've been having fun playing with it over the last week or so, and it is just so simple and easy to use. And the playlist function, lets you easily arrange the tracks in the order you want. And I'm sure more features are coming soon because it's a new piece of software. I installed it and used it in KDE Plasma 5.27 as background music while doing my show notes.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go.
I was jamming to some Kraftwerk and some Tangerine Dream and Edgar Froese, for those
nice.
I know.
Nice.
Jill has a sophisticated palette of music, unlike you, Michael, who listens to EDM, which is embarrassing.
Those are mostly EDM bands, Ryan.
Yeah, they're the ones who invented what you would call
Kraftwerk
EDM.
is basically the grandfathers of EDM.
Yeah, they're the ones who started modern day trance
you're like,
music.
you just listen to this one thing that she's
what?
also talking about.
You know what? Shut up, Michael. You know what is really important, though, is that I'm wearing a Jenkins shirt. And so the first thing you should plug into Monophony is Jenkins.
Yeah.
We've got Jenkins albums here. And if you don't know who Jenkins is, just go there right now and check out his YouTube channel.
You will like it.
You will love the music. It will make you
almost
happy.
guaranteed.
Hello, YouTubes.
All right. So the tip of the week this week is about monitoring your system resources. It's a very useful thing to do for troubleshooting memory leaks, system hardware issues, and problematic programs running in the background. It can also be some fun, such as when you're building a new setup that's completely overpowered like Ryan does, and then running the lightest desktop environment possible just because you can. Yeah, exactly.
Just for the lulz.
Yeah, exactly. There are a lot of options to choose from. When we've covered many of them in previous episodes of the show, like HTOP or Glances or GNOME or KDE system monitors and others. And this week, we're going to talk about one that we think you should check out for what your resource usage is and see if it's better to maybe make adjustments and that sort of stuff to improve your computing experience. And this thing we're talking about is BashTop. So BashTop has a really nice graphical interface that monitors memory, disks, internet speeds, CPU, processes, all in one screen on a terminal. So you can use it on your terminal and have a really nice graphical interface that gives you all these different features, and it works across multiple operating systems like Linux, BSD, and even Mac. So check it out.
Plus, it has an options menu to allow you to customize colors, text, all of this cool thing. So
and
if
graphs,
you get into BashTop
and
you hit the escape key, it will pop up to give you an option to quit or go into options there, and you can set all kinds of cool options. It's just, there's a lot of great system monitors, and I'm so thankful we have them, and you could make a case for any of these we mentioned, Glances, HTOP. BashTop is another one to check out. It's very cool. I like what they're doing with it.
Even the very minimal top lets you customize it and change colors. I did that for years with top.
A little.
But I love BashTop. It's been kind of my go-to between HTOP and BashTop. Have been the two I go back and forth with.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we also have a big event that we're going to be at, which is Scale. So if you want to meet the DL crew, we know you want to meet Jill, then join the 20th annual Southern California Linux Expo, which will take place on March 9th through the 12th at the Pasadena Convention Center in Pasadena, California. Come hang out for the very best time of your life. And because you're a listener of this show, guess what? You have a promo code, so you can get your ticket for like 50% off. Not like 50% off, for 50%
actually, 50% off, yes.
You're going to use the keyword TUX, T-U-X, there as your promo code, and you're going to get 50% off. Also, Scale is still looking for volunteers, so you can fill out the Scale volunteer information form. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. And we had someone very special do an anonymous donation, which we want to thank them for on behalf of Tux Digital and Destination Linux podcast to cover a small batch of tickets for students and those who've recently lost their jobs. So if your finances are tough and you need help with your scale tickets, DM or email info at SoCalLinuxExpo.org. The first time I got it right because it's just too close to social. That's SoCalLinuxExpo.org. And you can fill in the information there.
Yeah, and something special I wanted to mention to everyone on Sunday at Scale, there is an event called Open Source Career Day, which our friend Der Hans is organizing. OSCD will actually feature career consulting sessions, resume reviews, career guidance, and mock interviews, and a full day of talks on Sunday, March 12th at the Southern California Linux Expo. So make sure to join in. For all of you out there who need jobs in the tech industry, please do this.
Or just want to advance your career, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is amazing, having resume reviews. That's something people pay thousands of dollars, hundreds in some cases, but also thousands of dollars depending on your level. If you're doing executive resume or things, to have people do that and look at that and give you guidance on those, and then mock interviews. I mean, nobody likes the interview process. Mm-hmm. It's so uncomfortable. And so going through mock interviews can really help you nail that job because you're going to get over those nerves. You kind of already got somebody asking you those questions. You get an idea of the type of questions you're going to be asked. This is a really important networking opportunity for a lot of people. So if you come to Scale, definitely take advantage of that if you're look for a new career or advancing your current one. So a big thank you to each and every one of you for supporting us by watching or listening to Destination Linux. However you do it, we love your faces. You can join us on tuxdigital.com/Discord, where we have our entire crew there, even who have special patron rooms. If you become a patron, that are just exclusive to them. You can chat with other community members and even set up gaming sessions. You like some of the games we talk about here? You can set up gaming sessions with the community right there in Discord. And if you want to watch the show live, become a patron. And you can join us live on Sundays, usually at 1 p.m. Eastern. It's when we kick it off. And we also have our patron after show you can check out as well.
Yes, exactly. So tuxdigital.com/contribute to become a patron of the show and the network, because it's not just the show. You're getting a patronage to the network itself, where all the other shows, you also get some bonus perks from there as well. And in addition to joining us live, there's also unedited versions of the show. So if you missed this live show, you can also check out the unedited version and see all the great shenanigans that we get up to inside the episode. And also, like Ryan said, you can join us in the patron-only post show, which happens every week after the show, right after we're done recording. So go to tuxdigital.com/contribute to sign up. And also go right now to tuxdigital.com/store to pick up some really cool Tux Digital swag. We have Destination Linux shirts. We have the Linux 91 hat. We have 33% more Jill swag. So much cool stuff.
Sinister Wendy
stuff. Hoodies, mugs, stickers, hats, coasters, all sorts of stuff. tuxdigital.com/store.
And make sure to check out all our awesome shows here on Tux Digital. We have the Pseudo Show, This Week in Linux, the DOS Geek channel, Linux Out Loud, Hardware Addicts, GameSphere, and our virtual Linux user group, Linux Saloon. So everyone head to tuxdigital.com and subscribe to all these awesome shows. And don't forget to leave a rating on your favorite app so others can discover the power of open source and keep those penguins marching in the full Monty of Linux and open source awesome sauce. Everybody, have a wonderful week, and remember that the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next week.
Love you all.
Most of you.